could hear the patient's bones break. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for coming back. For those of you who are new to my channel, my name is Mercy. I'm a BSN RN and I make videos about nursing, lifestyle, beauty, hair, and everything. So if you're new to my channel, I would appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button down below and also hit the little notification button so that every time I upload a video, you'll get a notification. First of all, I'd like to apologize for being gone for so long. A lot of people have been sending me messages asking me, are you quitting YouTube? Are you okay? Is everything okay with you? What's going on? First of all, I've only been gone for about 2 weeks. Secondly, I appreciate the fact that you guys care and you're concerned about me. I completely appreciate that. But I'll have you know that I'm absolutely fine. Sometimes life just hits you when you're not expecting it and you have to slow down and make other things more of a priority than others. But I'm not quitting YouTube, at least not anytime soon. I love what I do here and I don't have any plans of quitting anytime soon. But there may be times where I may upload more and sometimes I may upload less and other times I may not upload at all. But if I'm ever quitting or if there's ever something wrong, I will do my best to keep you guys posted. So with that being said, let's get into today's video. Today's video is going to be about my very first Code Blue. Now, this is a very sensitive topic for me. No matter if you're a new nurse or old nurse or however long you've been a nurse, codes are never fun, but the good thing is that healthcare is such a teamwork environment that you will never, ever, ever be left alone in a code. My very, very first code actually happened when I was a senior in nursing school. I think it was my last semester in nursing school. We were on the critical care unit. Because of HIPAA reasons and respect for the people involved, I'm not going to say any name or give out any identifiers. I'm just going to tell my story about my first experience during a code. As I said, we were at clinical and there was this PCA. I think she was there by herself that day. There's normally 2 PCAs, but this day I think one of them called off or something, so she was there by herself. And lucky for her, there were students there, and PCAs always love when there's nursing students, by the way, because nursing students are so helpful. They help the nurses and the PCA with a lot of their job. So this day the PCA came up to us and she would come up to us and ask us to do this and do this and do this. So basically, we got to see all the patients on the floor that day. Even though we weren't assigned to this specific patient, but we got to help them out. So I think around 10 a.m. in the morning, we went in there and did some like nursing care for that patient, and then we came out. During the morning time, it was kind of busy a little bit, and then things kind of slowed down around 11:30-ish. So usually critical patients are closer to the nurse's station. This patient was in the room very close to the nurse's station, and we, the students, were sitting at the nurse's station looking up our medications because that's what we would normally do when we had downtime or something. So we're sitting there, the whole place was quiet, things were like, you could hear elevator music, things were fine, everything was okay, and we hear Code Blue, Code Blue, and within less than a minute, that whole place was packed. There is doctors from this floor, there is respiratory therapists, there is PCAs, nurses, attending physicians, everybody from everywhere. That place was so packed. I felt like I was at a crowded mall. Everybody came out of nowhere. People started doing CPR. And our professor was like, you gotta go and see, you gotta go and see. I'm not gonna lie, I was terrified. This was my first time experiencing anything like this. Usually our clinicals were calm and like nothing crazy ever happened. So we were all terrified. So our professor was like, go in there. If they need CPR, go in there and help out. Whenever you go to clinical, the doctor and nurses, they want you to experience stuff. So when there's things like that going on, they're not gonna push you away. They want you to see that this could happen. It doesn't always happen, but it could happen when you become a practitioner. So they pushed us in there. We were standing there and they were doing CPR, and there are people on the phone calling the family and telling them what happened. There are nurses and doctors doing CPR. The primary nurse who was taking care of the patient telling everybody about what happened, when was the patient's last normal, and da-da-da-da. There are PCA getting stuff. People are like, get the crash cart. People just running in and out of the room. It was an older patient and you could hear the patient's bones break, like their ribs. You could hear it break. They did CPR for over 2 minutes. They were trying to get in contact with the patient's family, and no one was answering. So they kept trying and trying and trying. Almost 5 minutes later, they finally got someone on the phone. And at this point, I don't think the patient had any ribs left. I'm telling you, it was already an older patient, and they were trying to do everything to resuscitate the patient. And when they finally got in touch with the patient's family member, they told them to go ahead and stop CPR. And at this point, the patient was already gone. It was the saddest moment. The whole room got quiet, and people started to disappear little by little. Within less than 5 minutes, everybody went away, and it was the primary nurse and the other nurses on the floor and the PCAs and us, the nursing student. So after a patient passes away like that, you have to clean them up and put them in the body bag to send them to the morgue. So as we're standing there, our professor tells us to go in and help the PCA. Now, mind you, I told you there was no other PCA but that one PCA. By the way, for those of you who don't know what a PCA is, it's a patient care assistant. So our professor told us to go and help her, so we had to do postmortem care. And for me, culturally, when someone passes away, that's like a serious event. There are many rituals that goes on, and certain people are not allowed to touch the body or see the body. Thankfully for me, growing up, I haven't had to deal with a lot of death in my family. So before that point, I never really had to deal with a lot of dead bodies. I never ever seen one before this day. I was shaking. I started crying, and I don't know what came over me. I couldn't stop myself from weeping. And my professor was like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" All of us were scared and terrified, but there was 2 of us, and the other girl happened to be African as well. And we just had so much emotions, and the other kids were excited. They were like, "Yeah, this is awesome. This is going to be an awesome learning experience." And I'm like, I don't want to. And my professor was like, "This is a good learning experience for you. We can talk about this later." So we went in there, and we had to give the patient like a full bed bath. We had to make the bed while it was occupied with the body in it. So we made the bed, we cleaned up the patient, we put a clean hospital gown on them, and cleaned up the floor, sweep the floor. We did everything, and the whole time I was terrified. I had all these thoughts in my head. Do I want to still become a nurse? Can I deal with this? And then I started to think about the patient's family. How are they going to feel when they get the news? So towards the end of it, after we got done with that, our professor called us to a meeting room so that we can debrief and talk about what just happened. And everybody talked about their experience. I was excited that I got that experience while in nursing school than me being a nurse and experiencing that for the first time. But as I said before, I had never dealt with anything even remotely close to this. So that was a terrifying moment for me. And so I explained that to my professor, and she said, "Yeah, I can understand that." And we just talked about it, and that was my very first code, y'all. That was not pretty. But as I said, the highlight of this story is that people always think of worst case scenario. You always think, what if I'm by myself and something critical happens to my patient? Then what do I do? First of all, nursing is a teamwork environment. When a code happens, if you're the primary nurse, the most you have to do is tell the physician and other people everything you know about the patient, because you're the one who's been taking care of the patient, so they're going to want to know some information. But as far as physically caring for that patient, they make you kind of step aside and take a deep breath, and they'll ask you questions as they come up. But I'm telling you, everybody comes in there and they're so helpful and so supportive, and they will help you out. After that, I learned a lot about myself, a lot about my emotions, and a lot about how I feel about situations like that. I was able to learn a lot from that experience, which I'm very grateful for, because going on to being a nurse, I've had, I think, 2 other codes, but I was able to carry myself in a more professional way. So I was grateful for that experience. So with that being said, that was my first cold experience. If you guys have had any experiences like this, I would love to hear your stories. Please leave comments down below or send me messages or emails. I would appreciate it. And thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in my next one.